Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Sandy Lacey. Sandy serves as the executive director of the Howe Innovation Center at the Perkins School for the Blind, which is located in Watertown. During the program, we're learning why and how the Howe Innovation Center came about and how it's grown, developed, and operates today. In the process, we'll come to better understand and appreciate the disability tech community and how it can further promote accessibility and inclusion for the blind, deafblind, or those with multiple disabilities. Let's start by meeting Sandy and then finding all about the Howe Innovation Center at the Perkins School for the Blind. Welcome, Sandy. So delighted to be able to be here.
Thank you so much, Jay, for having me.
I've had the good fortune to visit Perkin on a number of occasions and eager to hear about the new initiative you've been involved with and inform viewers as well. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest if you could share briefly a little bit about your background, your professional interest, and what attracted you to Perkins and the Howe Innovation Center, please.
Sure. So it's a pleasure to be here with everyone today. My name is Sandy Lacey, and my experience is really in startups and building innovation within older and larger organizations. I'm a three-time early startup employee, usually the first business hire, the first woman hire, brought on to complement a technical CEO. I've built and led the innovation labs globally for a large Fortune 100 financial services company. But most relevant to my role at Perkins is the time I spent serving the Commonwealth of Massachusetts under Governor Deval Patrick. So around in the early 2010s, I joined his administration to help support building a innovation ecosystem around the clean energy companies that we knew were in the Commonwealth. And through my time in that role, I learned a lot about what goes into creating an innovation ecosystem, how to bring together investors, corporations, the government, academic research institutions, and other key players, entrepreneurs, innovators, to really accelerate innovation. And so I know this recipe for building an innovation ecosystem, and I was so thrilled when I saw the role get posted at Perkins to build an innovation ecosystem around disability technologies, because while I'm a relative newcomer to disability and accessibility, I know the recipe. Perkins has the deep knowledge and expertise in disability. And in my almost 2 years here, I've been incredibly thankful for the Perkins community for bringing me quickly up to speed on the topics of disability and accessibility. But I was just really thrilled to kind of take this know-how that I had around ecosystem development and applying it to the disability community and a market that really deserves the attention and the support.
Mhm. Would you just give us, before we hear about the Innovation Center, just a few words about Perkins itself?
Sure. So Perkins School for the Blind, here in Boston, I think people who know about Perkins know us because of our campus-based school for the blind in Watertown, Massachusetts. But Perkins is an international NGO, and we're working to create a world where every child can learn. And this includes the 240 million children around the world who have a disability and most likely do not have access to skilled educators or services to support them and in an inclusive education environment. Our school in Watertown is the heart of our organization. We serve around 200 kids and their families every single year with the goal of really helping our students be successful academically and to acquire life skills that they need to define their own success. Across Massachusetts, we have teachers of the visually impaired that go into the public schools to work with children who are blind or who have low vision. There's over 500 children in the public school system that our teachers serve to make sure that their learning environment is accessible to them. And around the world, we partner with families, educators, public schools, and governments to create truly accessible learning opportunities for more children with complex disabilities. Together with our partners and supporters, we're building a world where every child belongs.
Wonderful, wonderful. Why and how did the Howe Innovation Center come about?
Yeah. So for years, Perkins has fielded inbound inquiries from the innovation economy, whether startups or student groups at universities or large Fortune 100 companies who were really just like looking for access to our community of people with visual impairments for primary market research or user testing. Perkins is not alone in receiving these inbound inquiries. A lot of disability organizations receive them, but a lot of disability organizations, they're not built to handle these requests. They're built to serve the needs of the community that they're primarily working with. Our CEO, Dave Power, he initially came to Perkins as a parent, went through the whole process as a Perkins parent, then was a board member, and then became the CEO. And he really saw an opportunity here to meet the needs of the innovation community who were trying to do the right thing by designing and building in partnership with the disability community. So really, the Howe Innovation Center came about so that we could centralize and focus our work to better connect the community of people with disabilities with the innovation community. And as the first school for the blind in the United States, Perkins has a history of opening doors. And so this was really not just an opportunity for us to steward change, but our obligation as such an institution within the space of disability to help bridge the gap.
A perfect arrangement indeed. What are some of the major issues, challenges, and opportunities in the field of disability tech innovation and entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So what's interesting about this space is that the issues and the opportunities, they're really one and the same. And this is what motivated us to create the Howe Innovation Center. First and foremost, practical challenges that the community of people with disabilities must navigate on a daily basis. They're not necessarily really well understood by the innovation community. And this is for a variety of reasons. We've run some initial analysis and we've found a lot of companies innovating in the space of navigation for the visually impaired, which makes sense because if you can make it safer and easier for people to get from point A to point B, you can unlock access to education opportunities or employment opportunities. But there are really thorny, persistent problems in daily living, education, and employment that innovators are just not well aware of. And we believe that we can help amplify these. So the example that I like to give is if you're a woman, there's currently no accessible pregnancy test on the market for a blind or low vision woman. You can't find out that information in private. You would need somebody to interpret an at-home test for you or find out at your doctor's office. And this is just a very personal topic, and it goes across all at-home medical testing, COVID tests, for example. We're not accessible to folks who were blind and low vision. They relied on somebody else to interpret the results. So this is a persistent problem that hasn't really been addressed by the innovation community. And now there's a group of women entrepreneurs at MIT who are actually working on trying to solve this problem. But we believe at Howe we could really help amplify some of these practical challenges. And that's just one example of many that we're currently aggregating. The second opportunity / challenge is that finding access to customers for primary market research and user testing is not very easy for entrepreneurs in the disability space. If you're building a product for like a financial services app for Gen Z workers making under $100,000 a year, it's not that hard to find that market segment to test your product with. But finding 30 people who have a specific type of low vision to test your product with, it is difficult. And we believe we can step in and help bridge that gap amongst many other typical problems that entrepreneurs face in getting a product to market. To date, there really hasn't been a clearly defined way for people to find each other in this ecosystem. And so we believe that the Howe Innovation Center can facilitate partnerships between key ecosystem players, people with disabilities, startups, investors, research labs, big companies that care about accessibility and inclusion. We believe that we can help bring all these folks together to solve some true problems.
Well, one group that you've been collaborating with have been some students from Olin College. Would you share a little bit about what's been going on with this collaboration and with a recent visit they had to the campus?
Sure. So when I joined Perkins, I realized you can't build a initiative like this in a silo, right? It really takes a variety of different perspectives and expertise with the lived experience to get something like this right. So I put together an advisory group of 12 individuals who had expertise in either the lived experience, entrepreneurship of building a disability tech company, research within the space, or investing within the space. And one of those key advisors is Professor Paul Ruvolo, who's at Olin College of Engineering. He's been working very closely with students on designing and building assistive technologies. And so Professor Ruvolo and I, we formed a collaboration between the Howe Innovation Center and Olin College of Engineering. And the first part of that collaboration was working on visualizations of some data that we've worked on. The second part of that collaboration was bringing students to campus and actually connecting them with our community to get feedback on their indoor navigation product, Clue, that they'd helped develop.
And I think that stands out, I know, in many conversations with successful innovators, is going right to the clients that you're designing something for and get their feedback to iterate after a couple of different trials to become successful and to get the type of product that in the end will really get to market and be useful for all parties involved in it. It sounds like that's the approach you're taking and have taken so far, connecting the disability community with potential companies and investors.
Absolutely. If you're not listening to your customer, you're not going to get your product very far, right? So if we can make it easier for entrepreneurs to find a customer base that is reflective for their initial product, or even just for a company that's building a product for the general population that needs to incorporate feedback, that should be incorporating feedback from people with disabilities, if we can help accelerate that, we will. And so this was an initial test that we did to see how involved we could get our community of people with visual impairments in providing feedback to a student group who had developed an indoor navigation technology.
Before we fortunate to have a clip that'll show the technology in action, would you just say a few more words what's involved with Clue from Olin College?
Sure. So this is an initiative that has been under development under Professor Ruvolo for over a year, I would say. I think there's probably been a few different student groups working on it. Really, for somebody who's blind or low vision, navigation outside of a building, there are existing innovations that can facilitate that in a very great way. And one of those is, for example, GPS, which can locate where you are and leverage existing map services. However, we call it the final frustrating 40 feet. So when you get to a building's entrance, finding conference room B319 isn't very intuitive because lots of buildings inside are not made really with accessibility in mind, from both specifically from a navigation perspective for somebody who has visual impairment. So Clue is a product that is being developed, leveraging technology to address that persistent problem.
Terrific. Well, as I mentioned, we're fortunate to have a short clip. Let's enjoy it now. Feel free to add any commentary either during it or we'll continue our conversation after it runs.
The Howe Innovation Center is making a real difference in the world of technology.
The man with a guide dog holds out his phone and walks on a sidewalk.
Recently, our center hosted a team of engineering students from Olin College who created a navigation software called The Clue.
Two women, then a man, speak to an audience seated at work tables.
The Clue system uses audio cues and haptic feedback to guide users through indoor environments to within a foot of their destination.
People with white canes and guide dogs navigate inside, holding their phones in front of them. Then a standing woman speaks.
Instead of just testing in a lab, they wanted to make sure it was accessible to everyone. So they took it to Perkins School for the Blind's community to get feedback from people with visual impairments.
People sit across work tables, talk, and examine devices.
At the Howe Innovation Center, we believe that connections will accelerate innovation, and this collaboration is a perfect example of that.
A woman gestures to an audience, people cheer, and a tester navigates through hallways.
This project is just one of many that demonstrates how the Howe Innovation Center is driving innovation and making connections that change lives for people with disabilities.
Howe Innovation Center, perkins.org/innovation.
It's very exciting. What was some of the reaction and feedback from both students, those at Perkins and those at Olin College, from the collaboration, and where do things stand now?
So something that's really fascinating about the group that we got at Perkins to test this product. In general, we don't loop our students into testing. Our students' job is to be at school and to learn. So some of the folks who are in that video are my colleagues who work in our assistive technology center or in our library. Some of them are just friends of Perkins who have known us for a long time and might have worked at other blindness organizations. And then some of the testers actually do not have a visual impairment, but they're experts in what we call orientation and mobility skills. So our acronym for that is O&M. And these are teachers of ours at campus that are not visually impaired, but they are deep experts in teaching people who have visual impairments how to navigate their environment. And this is something that's really unique about Perkins, is it's not just the access to the disability community, it's the access to the expertise in education within the disability community, whether that's a Braille educator and a Braille reading specialist, or an orientation and mobility teacher, or a speech language pathologist. There's a lot of deep expertise that we have on campus, and it's our obligation and our opportunity to take this know-how that we have centralized in Watertown and to share it out. The students from Olin were just so fantastic, because as entrepreneurs, it's your job to really listen to what the customer is saying. And the feedback was fantastic. It was everything from the case that they had developed, like the carrying case that held the iPhone, and if that case was comfortable, if it sat well on the human body, to if the auditory feedback was effective. Some of the folks in the video were white cane users. Some of them are guide dog partners. And so, just even that probably interprets how somebody is leveraging the product differently. But really, it was just remarkable and really encouraging to see the feedback from the people who have the expertise in navigating indoors be heard and received by the students.
Wonderful. Well, I want to move on for another interesting example. Recently, a group from Orama AI visited. Just a little bit about that company and then what the collaboration involved, please.
Sure. So that company came out of Cornell, actually, and one of the entrepreneurs who founded the company, he had spent time in India working at a blindness organization there, where he learned that the Braille literacy rates are actually much lower than the average person understands. As a sighted person, I see Braille in elevators and on airplane seats now, but the reality is only 10% of people who are blind and visually impaired are Braille readers. And there's a variety of reasons as to why that is, whether it's a shortage of Braille teachers. Braille is also just very, very difficult to learn. When somebody experiences blindness in their life, if they are born with blindness or if it's acquired much later in life, can determine if they become a Braille reader. And so one of these entrepreneurs was really, motivated by that statistic, and thought, wow, I wonder if I can create something that will make it easier for people to learn Braille. And that's where the product development for Orama AI came about. So it's essentially a glove that an individual would wear, which is hooked up to a camera where the AI algorithm interprets the Braille and then provides in-time, real live feedback to the learner on what the character is, so that the individual can learn individually on their own using the technology.
That is extremely exciting. And from that collaboration, what were some of the insight that was shared with the company so they can further develop their efforts?
So this company is early in their product development, I would say. But as far as I understand, I think they have one of the only Braille reading AI algorithms on the planet. So they're ahead of the curve there. It was really fascinating. So the head of our library, Kim Charlson, she's a very, very expert word is the word I would use, a Braille reader. And so we also had one of our Braille specialists from the library attend this session. And it was everything from, well, what happens to the camera if I read Braille with my left hand and not my right hand? To what happens if I read Braille with my third finger and not my pointer finger? All of this changes the angle of the camera, the way the camera can digest the information. And so it was just very helpful, I think, for the students to be sitting alongside two people who are not just experts in reading Braille on their own, but are also capable of teaching Braille. And the students have taken that feedback, and I believe I have an email in my inbox from them that's waiting my response for next steps.
Terrific, terrific. In addition to these type of collaborations, I know one of the first initiatives you're involved with was creating a robust database. Could you just share a little bit about what you've assembled and one of your initial efforts there?
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about the database. It's been quite it's something that I'm quite proud of right now, because I do believe it's like one of the first of its kind. So in my prior life, at two of the three startups I was an early employee at, I was actually an analyst. I was usually the first person hired to start creating market insights into a specific vertical, a specific sector. And when I came to Perkins, I knew from listening to my colleagues and my peers that a lot of entrepreneurs had approached Perkins for feedback on products, but I really couldn't find a great online resource about the market for technologies in the disability space. I found really clinical market research reports on like the global market for walkers or wheelchairs or canes in the year 2030, but nothing substantial around, AI investments in the disability space, or, it just didn't exist. So we decided to build the database ourselves, and I sat down and, in partnership with a volunteer, found 750 companies that are building for people with disabilities globally. We created, at that point, I was introduced to McKinsey and showed them the database, and they came on to really kind of help accelerate our research. So at this point in time, our database has over 1,400 companies that are building products and services specifically for people with disabilities. We've created a taxonomy that catalogs all of those companies. So what community are they building for? What form does the product take? What function does it solve? So is it navigation, communication, personal care? Who's invested in the company? How much money has the company raised? Where is the company located? And so we can really start running some robust analysis. So we have now released a white paper called Defining Disability Tech, The Rise of Inclusive Innovation, which is available on our website. And this database shows that There was over $4 billion that went into the disability tech market in 2022 in pre-seed and seed stage investments. In 2023, the market is currently valued at $25 billion, and we expect that to grow to $40 billion by 2030. So there's a lot of great activity in this space, a lot of momentum. People with disabilities and their allies control $13 trillion worth of annual disposable income. So if products aren't being built with people with disabilities in mind, then not only is the right thing not being done, but money is also being left on the table. And it's just been a really rewarding experience to lead with data, because you can't improve what you don't measure, right? And so we have to start by measuring so that we can see where we are, 5 years from now.
Wow, you have a terrific base to build on for sure. In the final couple of minutes closing, what are some of the Howe Innovation Center's current and upcoming plans?
Yeah, so we have a lot going on. We're really focused on 4 key initiatives at the Howe Innovation Center. So we started with research, and we're going to continue building out our research database. The 1,400 companies are great, and they're a significant slice of the market, but they're not everything. So we're going to continue to capture companies and activity, and we're really going to start putting out more research publications that show the activity that's happening within the space. So we're going to continue to focus on research. We really are wanting to amplify the lived experience. So we're continuing our community building efforts with the community of people with disabilities to understand what motivates people to participate in primary market research and user testing with innovators. So hopefully we can build a community to meet that private market need that we know exists. Third, we're really focused on supporting innovators. So think of all the entrepreneurs who are out there who are having trouble finding the customer for feedback, who are having trouble finding investment. We really, really want to figure out ways to stand up programming to help innovators. And there's so many cool ways that we can do that. I know that for a fact after just watching so many incubators and accelerators be successful around us over the last 2 decades. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to do that through partnerships. So I'm excited about that. And then really, we're focused on expanding our reach. So we really want to take the disability and technology conversation to the broader tech ecosystem rather than keeping it in the disability community exclusively. Big tech companies like Microsoft and Google have done a lot with regards to accessibility, and Apple, they're incredibly impressive. But there's this middle group of below big tech. What are entrepreneurs actually thinking about people with disabilities when they build their products? And are they including people with disabilities from the beginning of their design process so that their product is accessible? Whether it's an online shopping platform or an at-home medical test, it really spans everything. So we really want to take this conversation about disability inclusion in tech to the broader tech ecosystem.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, unfortunately, Sandy, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank you so much for being here. It's been fascinating to hear about what you've done in such a short period of time and the exciting upcoming plans. In the credits at the end, we'll have contact information for viewers and others who want to keep up to date and possibly become involved with the Howe Innovation Center. Thanks again, and continued success with future endeavors.
Thanks so much, Jay.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us, and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.